There is a root vegetable sweeter than carrots, higher in sugar than parsnips, that Roman emperors demanded as annual tribute from conquered territories. Tudor kings served it at palace banquets. For 1500 years, it was Europe's prestige root crop. It comes back every year without replanting, a true perennial. Harvest it in December and it regrows. Harvest it in March and it regrows. Leave it in the ground through winter and it waits for you, alive, sweet, ready. And yet, you have never seen it in a grocery store. You have never been offered it at a restaurant. You probably cannot name it. In 2023, global production of carrots and turnips reached approximately 41.4 million tons. That is industrial scale. That is what the modern food system selected. This root, effectively invisible, not declining, erased. This is the story of the sweetest vegetable you were never allowed to know. The archive opens in the 1st century AD in Rome. In his encyclopedic work, Naturalis Historia, the Roman naturalist Pliny the Elder records a curious detail about Emperor Tiberius, who ruled from 14 to 37 AD. Every year, Tiberius obtained a root called sisar from the Germanic territories along the Rhine. Not once, every year. Imperial supply chains dedicated to a single root vegetable. For centuries, scholars assumed sisar meant carrot. But here is the forensic detail that changes everything. Pliny describes this root as having a hard, bitter core, one that could be drawn out after boiling. Carrots do not have removable cores. Parsnips do not have removable cores. You know what does? Skirret. In 1957, a Wageningen researcher named O. Bunger published a systematic review of ancient root vegetables in the journal Euphytica. His conclusion was unambiguous. The sisar of Pliny was almost certainly skirret, Sium sisarum, not the carrot we know today. This is the plant. This is the name, skirret. And that single anatomical detail, that thread of woody fiber running through each root, was already documented 2,000 years ago. The taste was never the problem. The nutrition was never the problem. The handling was always the problem. And that core, that simple structural feature, would eventually determine whether this plant survived modernity or got quietly abandoned. The first documented appearance of skirret in Britain comes from a seed list dated 1322, maintained by the gardener to the Archbishop of Canterbury. This detail was recovered by historian John Harvey in 1984 and referenced by the heritage seed organization Cultivariable. Think about what this means. If skirret appears on a formal seed list maintained by a major English archiepiscopal household, this is not wild foraging. This is not peasant food scavenged from stream banks. This is planned cultivation at the institutional level. Prestige by logistics. But Cultivariable's documentation reveals something else. Skirret is described as a crop that has been repeatedly lost and found, multiple cultural drop-offs and revivals across centuries, not a single disappearance. Each time, the same pattern. Someone rediscovers it. They praise its sweetness. They plant it enthusiastically, and then it fades again. Why? The same reason it faded in Rome. The same reason it would fade after the Tudors. The core, the labor, the fact that it does not conform to what systems want. In 1597, the herbalist John Gerard published the Herbal, one of the most influential botanical texts in English history. His verdict on skirret was absolute. Of all roots, the most pleasant in taste and the most nourishing. Gerard documents a common serving method, stewed with butter, vinegar, and pepper. This is court food, banquet food. Food served to people who could afford to have someone else remove the cores. To understand what prestige meant in Tudor England, consider Hampton Court Palace under Henry VIII. According to historic royal palaces, Henry VIII's kitchens at Hampton Court produced over 800 meals per day, staffed by approximately 200 kitchen workers, cooks, grooms, pages, scullions. This was an industrial food operation, and it favored ingredients that were already standardized and available. Skirret's presence in Tudor herbals and garden records means it had achieved that status, at least for a time. Today, Hampton Court's kitchen garden has been partially restored. Historic royal palaces documents that head gardener Vicky Cook has inspected freshly harvested skirret grown in those same beds. A living connection between Tudor cultivation and present-day revival efforts, Roman emperors, medieval seed lists, Tudor herbals, royal industrial kitchens. This is not obscure. This is not marginal. This is centuries of documented prestige. So what happened? Cultivariables research reveals something striking. Across European languages, skirret's regional names translate to variations of sugar root. This was not an English oddity. This was continental recognition. Half of Europe had a name for the sweet white root that came back every year. According to Sturtevant's documentation, from 1890, skirret arrived in North America by 1775. Colonial gardens, founding-era cultivation. Skirret grows wild across Europe and Asia. It is described as a streamside plant, thriving in wet ground, tolerating heavy soil, and surviving cold winters. This plant was not ecologically fragile. It did not fail because of climate or geography. If half a continent had a name for sugar root, why did modern English-speaking kitchens lose it? The disappearance was not natural, it was economic. According to research published in Acta Horticulturae, skirret roots average approximately 16% dry matter. Of that dry matter, roughly 65% is sugars, predominantly sucrose. This is not folklore sweetness. This is measured, documented, laboratory-confirmed chemistry. But here is what most people do not know. Skirret also produces edible, etiolated sprouts, blanched shoots grown in darkness. The same Acta Horticulturae research reports these sprouts contain approximately 8% dry matter, with reducing sugars around 12% of dry matter, and protein content reaching approximately 25% of dry matter. The sweetness is real chemistry, but so is the woody core. The easiest way to remove it: cook the roots first, then pull the core out with a fork. That is the method that has worked for 2,000 years. It is not difficult. It is just not efficient at scale. And that is where the story turns dark. Skirret does not form a single uniform taproot. It forms a clump, multiple storage roots radiating from a central crown, sometimes described as squid-like. This matters enormously for industrial processing. Cleaning and preparation do not scale well. Each root must be handled individually. Sorting by size becomes complex. Mechanized harvesting becomes difficult. Intact root balls stored near 38 degrees Fahrenheit at roughly 95% humidity can last 3 to 4 months. That is decent. But the roots still carry cores that diners often remove after cooking. Compare that to a carrot. One root, no core, uniform shape, machine harvestable, infinitely sortable. Obanga's 1957 research documents something crucial. The Netherlands actively developed orange carrot varieties during the 17th century. Dutch breeders created classifications. Dutch paintings from the period show carrots becoming more uniform, more elongated, and more suitable for markets. This was not natural selection. This was intentional breeding for commercial traits. An International Society for Horticultural Science report on carrot production in Japan reveals the scale of what commercial fit looks like. It documents approximately 18,500 hectares of carrot root production, a carrot seed market exceeding 3 billion Japanese yen and about 20 million euros at wholesale, driven by hybrid cultivars and high seed prices. Carrots are not just a crop, they are a seed business. In 1986, California farmer Mike Urasek is widely credited with popularizing the baby carrot. Not a young carrot, but a mature carrot cut and processed into a standardized snacking format. This innovation was built around processing efficiency and uniform product form. The exact opposite of skirret structure, they breed for machines. Banga's carrot history explicitly documents carrots being selected, classified, and standardized over centuries. Industrial agriculture's long arc shows selection pressure toward uniformity. They sell the inputs. The carrot data shows carrots are not just food, they are a seed economy, driven by hybrid cultivars, high seed prices, and major seed markets worth millions. They avoid perennials. Skirret is described as a true perennial that can be left in the ground and harvested whenever the soil is workable. Once you have a stand, you can keep it going indefinitely. That means less dependence on annual seed purchases and less dependence on the input economy. They optimize the supply chain. Global carrot and turnip production, at approximately 41.4 million tons in 2023, reflects a system tuned to scale. Skirret's hand labor cannot compete on throughput, even if the taste wins. So was skirret forgotten, or was it priced out of the modern system? Even mainstream root crops are not immune to modern volatility. Reporting from the United Kingdom, tied to official agricultural figures, describes carrot yields falling. One cited example showed a 7.2% drop during periods of weather disruption. The industrial system is efficient, but it is also brittle. If you want to bring skirret back, here is what the documentation shows. Skirret tolerates a range of soils, prefers moisture, can handle heavy or swampy ground, and survives cold winters. Sources suggest it is perennial down to USD as Zone 5. According to Cultivariable's guidance, skirret seed germination remains viable for at least 3 years when stored at approximately 70 degrees Fahrenheit and for up to 5 years when stored at approximately 50 degrees Fahrenheit. Harvest after the foliage dies back. Store unwashed root balls near 38 degrees Fahrenheit at approximately 95% humidity for 3 to 4 months, or leave them in the ground through winter if your soil does not stay too wet, and if rodents are not a problem. Skirret, Sium sisarum, sugar root. Roman emperors demanded it. Tudor herbalists praised it. European languages named it for its sweetness. And industrial agriculture quietly let it disappear, not because it failed, but because it did not fit. You cannot patent a perennial that regrows from its own roots. You cannot sell annual seeds to farmers who never need to replant. You cannot build a processing empire around a vegetable that requires human hands. The entire economic model of industrial agriculture requires crops that need constant inputs. Skirret represents everything that model opposes. It is resilient. It perpetuates itself. It refuses to participate in the dependency economy. So they let it vanish, not through active destruction, but through quiet neglect. They bred the carrot into perfection. They funded the carrot research. They built the carrot supply chains. And they let skirret fade into footnotes and heritage seed catalogues. Knowledge does not die. In Tudor kitchen gardens being restored today, skirret grows again. In heritage seed networks across Europe and America, the genetics survive. In the hands of gardeners who value taste over throughput, the tradition continues. Every person who learns that the sweetest root in European history still exists becomes harder to control. Every garden where skirret thrives without annual replanting is proof that the industrial narrative is incomplete. Every cook who learns to pull the core from a boiled root is recovering 15 centuries of culinary knowledge. They did not ban skirret. They did not poison it. They simply built a world where it could not compete. But the plant survives. The seeds remain viable. The knowledge persists in old herbals and new experiments. The question is not whether skirret deserves to return. The historical record answers that definitively. The question is whether you will be part of its recovery. Learn it, grow it, cook it, teach one person. The pharaohs had their chufa. The emperors had their skirret. The industrial age tried to erase both, but you know now. And knowing is where every revival begins. Subscribe and share to keep the lost crops alive. This is Root Secrets.